Yo, this is Stocks and Bars, the Stock Market Hip Hop Podcast, the only place you'll find finance mixed with hip hop. And this is part 2 of our conversation with Shelly Rahim. We're going to talk about how she's saving the world on Instagram, postpartum, capitalism, and so much more. Let's go. I got my clique ready to use the money they got from jobs, encouraging, teaching them that it's not so hard. I'm doing this, making investing pop. You law, it's Xtro. You tuning in to Stocks and Bars. Yes, I trust me, I believe that 100%. And that just goes for anything in general. Like we've talked about, it takes a village. Like people are here in order to help each other. This is what our sole existence is to do, is be able to lean on each other because we are strong as a unit. Individually, you can be good, but when you have a team, there's pretty much nothing that can stop you. So I agree with you there. So for that diet, right? One of the things that I harp on right now is we live in a world of Instagram, the YouTubes and everything. And what I hate about capitalism the most is we try to monetize everything. Everything needs to be monetized for some shape, form, or fashion. We created social media just to keep in touch. Then all of a sudden somebody had this brainchild like, wait a minute, we can make money off of it. Okay, and now you got 1 million people out here trying to make content and sell you something, right?
Oh my God, I've never thought about it like that. Yeah, it started out as just a way to stay in touch with dorm kids in the dorm, right?
Yeah, that's all it was originally. And then now it is transformed into this whole mega thing where everyone feels like they just post 5 pieces of content a day. The algorithm will pick you up and this, that, and the third, right? So we get lost. And then the reality of things is we ended up being distant. Social media was supposed to make us close, but it did the opposite. Now we're trying to just draw people in and not even care about anything. But it's hard to find people like you and I because you can't really filter through things like that because the algorithm is going to post more people who are more popular or whatever, and then it's going to feed that. Then people like you and I are just like, hey, I'm real.
I know, right?
So how do you connect? Like, how do you find people that you truly need to help?
You know, it's so interesting because the work that I do with postpartum moms, feeding them that first meal and then feeding them at home and taking care of them in this way, like holding space and massaging them every single day and binding their belly, and this more like a traditional way of care that I provide. I knew that when I was doing this with my in-person clients here in San Diego, I was like, why isn't her mom here doing this? Why are people hiring me? Like, families need to have the skills that I have, because if your mom is doing this for you, think about how that relationship is going to heal.
Right.
And, you know, like your mom's cooking for you and sacrificing and doing all these things, but it's me. I'm loving my clients as if they're my own daughter, but I want her mom to do this.
Yeah.
So I was like, the only way for me to help create change and help teach families to do what I do is to get on social media, you know, and so I got on there and I knew that what I have to do in order to start showing people this has never been modeled. It's been like over 4 generations in America that loving care for postpartum mothers has been modeled in our society. It's just not. They need to see it, right?
Yes.
So I would get my former clients or my niece or whoever. I'm like, okay, we're going to act out these little scenes of me taking care of you, feeding you in bed while you're nursing your baby, because I need to actually feed you, because you can't just get up and go in the kitchen and eat because you're literally with the baby on your boob for like 12 hours straight. And so me showing, okay, here's what it looks like. And here's what it looks like to hold you when you're crying. Here's what it looks like to swaddle the mother, not the baby.
The mother,
I'm swaddling mothers, like wrapping them in blankets so they can heal. So when I show these videos, they actually went viral. The algorithm was like, hey, but no, people were sharing it because they were actually having a healing experience, looking at that going, oh,
it makes sense. Yeah.
That's why I got postpartum depression, because I didn't get any of that.
Yeah.
I was fending for myself, and that's what I need. So that's kind of how I've used my platform to create awareness and it's really been these people. What the beautiful thing about I read all my DMs, I read all the comments, and people from all over the country that I'm not able to serve here in San Diego are reaching out to me and saying, you know, your content is actually healing for me. And I'm going to go and help my sister now with those recipes that you're giving for free. And I'm going to go, I'm actually going to cook for myself and freeze everything and feed myself properly after birth. Right. So it's kind of, that's how it's been my experience on social media.
And I love the fact that it's self-fulfilling. This is what people miss when it comes to the things that we do. It's because of what we do that feeds us and then continues to make us want to do what we do. I'm sure you have your business set up, but it's not, you have your business set up because you truly want to help people. And I think that's what's missing right now when it comes to the world of social media is people who truly generally want to help. In my culture, especially like what I do with finance content creation, there's a lot of money grabs. And it drives me insane.
Me too.
Because it really makes it difficult for somebody to actually trust who they're getting their information from. And then number two, they try to make it seem as if you're not serious enough if you don't have the finances to afford them. And that's not cool. We can't do that. But I also want to tie this to what you do here. So I got a question for you as far as postpartum. I think there's a big business in postpartum, and that's why it exists as it is right now. But what do you feel right now that families, okay, let me rephrase that. All right. So many families struggle to afford this, right? So what financial barriers do you see that prevent mothers from receiving that care right now?
Yeah, that insurance doesn't cover it. Postpartum work, Medicaid, the national health care doesn't necessarily cover it. It might cover it a little bit, but it's not adequate. So if you go to European countries, such as like Germany, they'll send a nurse home. The first like 3 weeks after your birth, you'll get like, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 hours a day of a nurse coming into the home, but that's paid for by the government. So we don't have any standardized type of a guarantee that a postpartum mom will get any kind of help after birth. So it's really, honestly, it's for the privileged. It's for the ones who, A, are savvy enough to know that we exist, and then B, have, $3, $4, $5, $6,000 in their bank account they can just fork out for, 2, 3, 4 weeks of care after birth. And that's not something most people can afford.
Right. So they priced it out. Like, it's very interesting. We have so much money, but we squander it all. I tell people that money is a tool. If I had all the hammers in the world, what good would it do? It wouldn't make any sense whatsoever if everybody else had nails that needed hammered in and I got all the hammers. It doesn't make any sense, but that's how capitalism works. It drives me nuts too. But back to capitalism, right? All right. So the food industry, the big giant industry that runs everything. For people who are not familiar, there's pretty much like 7 or 8 companies that run everything. All right. And if you're not familiar, just go to Google. You'll see it for yourself. The information is there. The food pyramid, everything is going to blow your mind on why this thing is how it is right now. But the food industry, all right, how do you feel that affects the nutrition that new mothers get right now?
So basically where we're at right now is mothers themselves don't really understand what I'm talking about, how important this is. It hasn't been modeled in our society, how important that first meal is. So the hospitals are giving them, if they give birth in the middle of the night, it's all we have is like Jello, red dye number 5, Jello in a little juicy box or a vending machine style turkey sandwich, and that's not enough. So they're getting that, and then cafeteria food is usually really processed, and it's random food, it's not specialized. Then when they get home, there's nobody cooking for them like I'm talking about. Like I'm in the kitchen when I take care of my clients, I'm in their kitchen for 8 hours a day cooking fresh foods. And so there's nobody really doing that, and we don't understand that that's actually what she needs.
Yeah.
So it's about DoorDash. Friends will be like, okay, well, we know she needs to eat and
Let's
she's
get you Burger
busy.
King.
Yes, Burger King, DoorDash,
Hmm.
so that's where we're at, is like capitalism has definitely said, oh, I've got a solution over here. Oh, and get this. Here's another thing that drives me crazy. Um, what started to pop up now around the country are these postpartum hotels.
What?
And so after you give birth in the hospital, you can check yourself into a hotel that's designed for like you with your newborn baby and your partner. And they bring you food and they'll massage you and they'll have lactation support. But you're actually like in a hotel for postpartum. And this is modeled after Korea has these, right?
Okay.
And the thing that makes me so, so mad is they're so expensive. You can imagine dropping $20,000, $30,000 for a week in this like
And taking advantage of
hotel.
people, yes, yet again.
And yet, like I am looking at these and I'm thinking, if we could somebody came up with this idea and put time, money, resources into creating these hotels, if we could just channel that towards helping the greater good so that all mothers could have fresh food and someone to help care for them, not just these like, upper 1%. So that really disturbs me that that's where we're putting our energy and time in solving this problem in our society of lack of nourishment for postpartum mothers. They're getting DoorDash, they're getting Burger King, they're getting random food, which is depleting. They're not able to really heal, and their brains aren't really able to settle if they don't have the proper nourishment.
Right. Nourishment is the key here. Diet. Everybody doesn't understand the importance of the diet. You've highlighted the first meal, how important it is. And even after the first meal, what you consume is what you become. I've already hinted at how what you do on social media is part of what you consume. The things that you are in your own personal environment. If you're in around negativity, the things that you watch, all of these things are things that you consume, which will influence you. And I want to point back to even before the first meal. All right. The baby is inside of the mother, and these things still affect the baby. This is why this is going to blow people's mind, right? Okay. People think about cancer a lot and how it's like this random thing. Well, it's not. It's really tied back to the diet. And the reason why you can easily explain that is because how do babies end up born with cancer? It's because the mother was having a diet which then helped formed it in the child. That's the only way it can get it. So the importance of what you do is helping mothers, new mothers, and then other women understand the importance of that first meal, and then also helping them, give them the education on here's what you could be eating from now on. So after that very first meal that they have, what changes does a mother need to make to their diet in order to continue on that path so they stay on that right path?
Yeah, that's really great, because if a mother is like nourished really well, she has that embodied experience of like how food is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So that first meal, when it's something just processed and trashy from the hospital, she's like, it's just okay. This is how it is. Like that's just how it is. But if she actually has that nourishing meal and she can feel in her cells, wow, this is healing me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has that experience, she's going to want to keep that for her family, right? So just simply doing simple things like, oh, okay, I'm taking Shelly's recipe for homemade bone broth. And I'm just always going to have homemade bone broth in my freezer. So when I make a soup for my family, it'll be with that nice, really nutrient dense homemade bone broth. That's like one simple thing that they can do to start thinking about how can I carry this now, this experience of healing from food that I've had, and keep that going in my family.
It's important. Seeing is believing. I'm a vegan, right? And I changed my diet for the reasons of I used to run marathons, and I would have a lot of aches and pains after running, and it was just very grueling. And it came to a point one time where I was just beat. My feet hurt. Everything was just completely done. And then I would go out and have to do yard work. It would be hard to bend and everything. And this was like 31, 32. I'm like, this isn't right. I should not be feeling like this. I'm pretty athletic. I'm in shape. This is just not right. And I did my research and understood more about inflammation. And then I did things in my diet to help eliminate that inflammation. And I haven't had that inflammation ever since I've changed my diet. And that's just a note to anybody who's considering doing something for their health. It's real. It's real. Don't laugh at us. I'm sure you and I have shared our ridicule from somebody about us not being right. We're crazy or whatever it may be. It's like, that's fine. Go ahead. You do what you do. I'm doing what I do because I know what the difference is. So don't knock it until you try it.
Exactly.
Can you share any stories of people that you have worked with and kept in contact with and their progress after, for when they dealt with you and then the changes that they observed?
Yeah, a lot of times I get, clients who hire me because their first postpartum was really kind of traumatic. They didn't have any choice. They just fended for themselves. Their husbands went back to work. Their moms and mother-in-laws didn't really know what to do, and they actually caused more stress. They felt like they had to entertain them when they came. So when the second baby came around, they got pregnant, they were like, okay, I'm going to have you come and take care of me. And so afterwards, they said how with the first baby or the first two babies, they got postpartum, they got the baby blues, and then that turned into postpartum depression. And then it took like a year before they really felt like they could really get grounded and get some therapy and get help. But with me there, feeding them for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, even 6 weeks, they never once even experienced the baby blues. Even though it's still challenging, they're still waking up at night, but they were so well cared for and nourished that they didn't have those extreme mood swings. They never got baby blues. They never got postpartum depression. They actually really enjoyed their postpartum time.
Good.
And then that's very common sentiment that I hear from my clients. And then the other thing I'll share with you, even my Instagram followers will kind of get back to me after they've used my meal plan. And I hear stuff like this, like, Shelly, I just gave birth to my 8th baby. With all 7 of my babies, I got the baby blues really bad. But I used your meal plan from the moment I gave birth. And this is the first time in all 8 of my babies I didn't get the baby blues.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Stuff like that I hear all the time.
Yeah, the changes are real. In order to see the change, you have to actually do it, right?
Yep.
You can't get a different result doing the same thing.
Nope.
And unfortunately, as simplistic as that is, a lot of people still fall victim to continually doing the same thing, hoping for something different. Doesn't work that way. It will not. All right, we're getting short on time here, so I got a couple more questions for you. All right, so you mentioned about how people, what can they do to afford you? All right, so. All right, how am I going to word this one? All right, so in hip hop, in capitalism, everything, we talk about the hustle, all right, the hustle of everything. So even during that time, all right, if somebody cannot afford you or a doula of any kind right now, what is the time frame for recovery that a woman should actually be experiencing after birth?
Well, she does need 40 days, so that's 6 weeks of rest.
Okay.
At least, like, that should be something that her family and our government and the workforce should accommodate. At least 6 weeks minimum, bare minimum. And during that 6 weeks, she needs high quality nourishment. And if she can't hire somebody to cook for her, which, first of all, there are not very many people who do what I do. Like in San Diego County with 3 million people, I think there's like maybe 2 other doulas who actually cook.
Wow. Okay.
They're not trained to do. They don't learn this.
I wanted to say the art of cooking is actually just falling.
Yes.
Period.
Right. Yes. People aren't learning to cook anymore, right? Like, and so, but what she can do is, she can, during her pregnancy, freeze a lot of those, like that free meal plan that I have, start with that, freeze
Okay.
a lot of those things so that she at least has freshly made, in the freezer, nourishment for herself. That would be kind of like my suggestion. If you can't, you can't find somebody who does what I do because they don't really exist. And then B, if you, if you can't, afford it, then do that cooking yourself and
Okay.
freeze it. Hmm.
So we've talked a lot of different topics here. All right. And capitalism is the centric thing going on here.
Yep.
It pushes so much individualism.
Yes.
And we understand that it takes a village. So what do you feel that families can do to foster a community in order to thrive in this society that we got going on? Like, what can they do in order to make sure that they stick together so they can actually pull this off?
Yeah, I think showing up for postpartum moms is the very first thing that families can do. And then when because the mother is the center of the family. When mothers are well cared for and nourished, then families thrive, society thrives. And right now we're not caring for the mothers, those maternal elders, the grandmothers, the aunties.
We're
They've
sending them to
forgotten.
work.
No, they come and hold the baby and leave, right?
Hmm.
And so that needs to change, that they need to be there and they need to like cook for their daughter, clean, not hold the baby. I'm here to cook and clean for you. And that's it. I'm here to get up in the middle of the night with you and take care of the baby with you so you can sleep. They need to really show up and provide loving care and nourishment. And if that happens, guess what? Relationships heal, families thrive. And then we don't have to be like, we go to the doctor and we're like, hey doc, I'm depressed. I've got postpartum depression. Okay, here, take some Zoloft. Right? We're just feeding this big pharma, we're feeding this, system that doesn't really support and work for mothers and families. So showing up and being there and nourishing and loving care for the mother, not the baby, but the mother, to me is the solution to this toxic individualism that has caused so much division and like pain in our society.
It has. And it's all driven by the almighty dollar.
It is. Absolutely.
All right. What I like to do on my show is we talk a lot about hip hop too, right? In this instance here, I like to also talk about frequencies. I'm a huge fan of frequencies and understanding how they affect the human body, how they affect specific organs and all that type of thing. So when you do your doula work, is there any type of music that you encourage or listen to in order to help them heal a little bit easier?
What a beautiful question. God, I love that you even asked that. No one's asking those questions ever. And in fact, I do prenatal yoga and dance.
Okay.
And in my prenatal yoga class, music is a really big part of that. And so I will have classes where I'm turning up the music, and it's oftentimes like either it's kind of like a hip hop type song, or it's a very primal type music. So I'm trying to get them to understand that birth is primal. You have to move and dance, and dancing is the way to unlock and unleash this primal nature, this intuitive like energy that we naturally possess to birth.
Yes.
So yes, we can stand in these shapes, these poses, and hold a yoga pose. But for me, I'm like, no, we're not going to just stand in warrior pose. We're going to dance in our warrior. And I blast the music, and I make them hold a pose for like 3 minutes so they can endure pain. And we use music to like keep us going and literally like dance. Okay, you're going to stay in this, but you're going to dance through it. And then that gives them that confidence. Okay, I can handle a really strong, hard contraction in my body because I did it during pregnancy.
Yes.
That's kind of how I use music to heal and unlock and unleash really beautiful, deep feminine intelligence within us.
All right. So here's the off the wall question here. All right. So we talked about the music aspect of it. Is there a hip hop artist that you will believe helped deliver a baby?
Oh, that got me. Goodness. Now with all the controversy going on out there, I don't even know who to like promote anymore. So I think I have to just hold off on answering that. But actually, I'll tell you what. You haven't heard DJ Drez. DJ Drez, have you? Yeah.
No, I haven't. DJ Drez, no.
It's not hip hop. Okay. I don't know what it is, honestly. It's like kind of funky yoga music.
Okay.
But check him out because I really play DJ Drez a lot because he's got a lot of like kind of like hip hop beats, but it's kind of like yoga music. So it kind of works in my yoga classes and it kind of works really well in birth.
Okay.
But I had a mama who, one of my clients, I think I'm safe to say Cardi B. She rocked her baby out with Cardi B.
All right, shout out Cardi.
She was just like singing those like Cardi B, like, and that's that kind of music you need when you're like 10 centimeters and you're just like, man, this is, so.
That's good. All right, Cardi, you have been part of the party for delivering babies. So your
baby
music
was born
is
to your beat. That's right.
All right. Thank you for coming on to the show. I appreciate you spending time with me. Now, if you're not familiar, what I do is I show love every single time when I'm on the show. I don't have to know anybody deeply enough just to say I love you. I think this is a lost art as far as people are concerned. Just saying I love you, all right? It doesn't have to be this amatory thing or whatever. It doesn't have to be weird. Love is love. Love is something that is just a feeling that you can be able to share with somebody. You just want somebody to prosper and do well, and that's what I got for you. So I love you, Shelly. Thank you so much for showing up on my show, spending time with me. I really, truly appreciate it. Thank you for educating people, doing what you do to help them understand their own power. We're all gifted the power to be better, and you and I are vessels to help people unlock that. And I thank you for doing what you do. So thank you.
And you're making me cry right now. Oh, how beautiful to hear a man speaking about love. And I love you too, and I genuinely mean that. And the work you're doing to make this world a better place.
Thank you. We're going to do it one podcast at a time, one Instagram post at a time. We're going to do
one mama at a time. Okay.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Yo, Pharoahe Monch, let me hold this beat for a minute, fam. Put a little finance on this one. And some health. Let's go. Yo, it all starts with nutrition. Can't profit off the healthy, they targeting new victims. Every other day, new commercials with new symptoms, and the doctors that get paid from the pills. You pick one. Just to think that it starts with the first meal. The damage has been done, so it starts when we first heal. Seems like it starts good, but we got a reverse deal. What we're feeding our stomachs only having a hearse fill. Food is the medicine for less postpartum. The weapons of success, my guest hosts armed them. Messages we sent reflect no sponsors. Our health isn't the bag, instead it's gross margins. Me and Shelly both partners in awareness. We teamed up to give dope options for the parents. I got the finance and she got the food preparing. To help us change the world, we're stopping you from sharing. Stocks and bars.
I know the name. Ignorant minds are free, and if you tired of the same old slated to be the best,
This is Stocks and Bars.
slated to be the best, I must confess.
Let's go.
Motivated, boom, control the game like boom. I know the name. I know the name. Ignorant minds are free, and if you tired of the same old slated to be the best, I must confess the star made it. Slated to be the best, I must confess the star made it.
Stocks and Bars.
I know the name. Ignorant minds are free, and if you tired of the same old every day, you will be clean. I know the name.
Stocks and bars, stocks and bars, stocks and bars, stocks.